All right, guys, welcome to the Amp Guard of Alaska Board of Directors meeting for July 9th, 2020. We're calling this to order at 8:07 p.m. on, I already said July 9th, cool. In attendance, we've got our reps from Anchorage, Fairbanks, the secretary, myself as the CEO. We've got Palmer and Kenai Soldana. So on the agenda for this morning, wow, nope, that's not the morning, for this evening, is the acceptance. First item is the acceptance of the previous meeting's minutes. Hopefully you all had a chance to take a peek at that. I actually have the file open, so I can do it. Oh, I had the file open. There it is. So last time, we talked about approving the Phase 2 mitigation plan. We talked about the all thing. We approved the corrections listed at a table, and we approved expenditures for Wolf's Cry, including the permits for food, alcohol, and purchasing the Wolf's Cry mugs. Hopefully you all got a chance to look at that, but I just also read it all to you. So I make a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes.
I second that motion.
Cool, got a second. All right, so quick rundown on that vote is John. Yay or nay? He's probably trying to eat now, and I'm just interrupting that. But
yes. No,
cool.
I'm still cooking.
Oh, still cooking. Sorry. All right, so we got a yes from Anchorage. Adolf.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So the point here is that you looked. We had a previous meeting, and okay, cool.
Right.
Yep. So we're just we're humming that we did something last time. Cool. Jason.
Yes.
Myself says yes, and Stephanie.
Yes.
And Victor. Like you still have yourself muted. You there, Victor?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right. So we had a meeting last time. We all confirmed that we had a meeting last time. Yay. We're not going crazy. Or it's a shared delusion amongst all of us. Yay. The next item on the agenda is the bank account consolidation. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Jason, and he's going to kind of give a rundown of what we're talking about with this and kind of what the plan is and why.
Okay. The idea that we're talking about is we currently have a bank account for each region. We give the PMs access to that bank account, and then we use that so that they can go withdraw money to fund their cash boxes as needed. The proposal right now is to consolidate that into one checking account and one savings account, and to only give access to the bank to the Kingdom Prime Minister and the Kingdom Monarch. The reasons behind this, right now we have to go through a process to get people added to the bank account, and it's not usually an easy process. I don't believe we have all the prime ministers added to the bank right now because of that process. And I know in the past, Corin had problems with that as well. So the idea is that we seem to be on this constant loop of spend the rain trying to get a prime minister added to the bank account to turn around and have to restart it all over once that next rain happens. So the desire here is to get out of that loop, and then when the prime minister needs to actually replenish their bank or their cash box, they can actually make a request of the Kingdom Prime Minister or the Kingdom Monarch, and we can have a check issued to them so that they can go to their own bank and cash that check.
Sorry, I'll be honest, I'm multitasking. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, especially those on the BoD?
I was just reading that Puppet was saying it freaked him out. I'd like a little bit more reason why that would freak you out.
Me too. I would love to hear the negatives behind this. or at least the possible ones.
I mean, technically, it could be more difficult for a regional PM to have direct access to the money, but that's already kind of an issue. And that's basically what we're explaining, is that it's very difficult to get folks in and off, or on and off those accounts. The bank that we're working with just it's not as quick as we would like.
Another issue that we're having is is that we do have a minimum balance for each of the accounts as well. And so as money's moving around, money's pulled out of one account or the other, it triggers a bank fee. And that's a real savings that we could have by allowing that to just be in one account. We could continue that balance a lot easier than have it spread out across multiple accounts.
I mean, part of it is we could run it like this for, 12 months, 6 months, whatever. And if the next group decides, this really isn't working because of X unforeseen reason, they just go back to the bank and reopen and redistribute the money again. But just as we are kind of contracting a little bit on how much money we're rolling around with is autonomy. Okay. Anyways, as we're contracting with how much money that we're gonna have available in the banks, do you remember offhand what the minimum is in each account that we have to maintain? Is it like $1,000?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have to have $1,000 basically sitting frozen in each account that we have spread out, that we shouldn't be going underneath it. I mean, I guess that's part of the irony here, is that they don't really have quick access to their own, well, that's a misunderstanding. They don't have their own money. Regions do not have their own money. It is all Northreach's money. Astral Winds does not have its own money. They have a budgeted allotment from the kingdom overall, but we are all one entity. Okay, well, that's a fundamental issue that's different. Yeah. Okay. So it depends on what you mean by getting money. There will be cash in the cash boxes still, and that's really been what most of the transactions I think have been, and that'll vary by region. So Jason and I were actually going back and forth, and we both had like long rants to each other and to ourselves, both kind of in public and in private chats, about how much the money should be, and it'll depend on the what's decided between the Kingdom Prime Minister and each individual PM.
Yeah, we have different regions that have different needs. So we have Loop and Moon and Frozen Coast who have to pay their own site fees every month, so they need the cash in the cash box to make those. I believe Astral Winds doesn't pay site fees, so they don't need as much in their cash box. Where Ravenstone, they have to pay their site fees as well, but their fees are paid monthly, and so we usually just write a check for that rather than have a PM pay that out of their cash box.
And just to kind of question here, moving towards this plan, obviously there's going to be emergencies, there's going to be realization, oops, I didn't have
You kind of cut out there right after the oops something.
Sorry.
I still don't hear Victor. Is it just me?
I'm sorry, my push to talk is something's happening with it, but I want to make sure that we're open to different ways of transferring the money rather than just check, by the sounds of it.
I think that could be negotiated between the Kingdom PM and the PM at any. Yeah, I don't think we're set in one single way.
So you're talking about like having options like just doing a bank transfer from one account to another.
Yeah. So if it happens that, two park members, the Kingdom Park Prime Minister and the local Prime Minister or Monarch, have the same bank, that it might be a possibility that we could transfer the money the same day rather than mailing a check or check order.
Yeah. No, I don't necessarily want us to have limits on it. I think ideally to get that replenishment is we should be looking at having some sort of check and balance here, because I know I'll say we've had problems recently with cash boxes. We had a PM in Ravenstone that didn't keep up with his cash box, and so we ended up with a lot of estimating that we had to do. And so I think for me anyway, I'm thinking like to do that replenishment, we'd also want to see that the cash box balance in the ledger matches that they'd need a replenishment. But if it's something like you're saying, where it's an emergency, they're low on cash for whatever reason, they hadn't made a request yet, and there's something imminent that they need to pay for, I would absolutely be open to something that would get them that cash sooner. But then I'd want to make sure that they understood that that's not going to be the usual. They need to make sure to stay on top of their stuff, make their request in a timely manner.
For sure. My second concern is the Kingdom Prime Minister and Monarch rollover period. Is there any plans or notification to where we can kind of bump up, especially in the winter season, the funds that each park has, so they can make it through that transition period?
Well, I think that's the purpose of having it for both of those positions, is because they alternate over a 6-month period. And it's a lot faster to get one person added to the bank than it is to just go through and get a bunch of people added to the bank. Because we have issues. We have to get them, they have to be able to get their information to the bank. The bank has to create essentially not an account, but if you don't have an account with the bank we're using right now, they have to set you up. They have to collect a bunch of information from you. And then at the very end, they have to send a document around to all the signers that are on the bank account. And so that's all the PMs, the KPM, the Kingdom Monarch. When we drop it down to 2, then that's one document that has to go to 2 people. And that's where we're can speed things up for us. I don't think that would necessarily be a problem. I mean, we could look at that if it is, but I just think having them with that 6 months difference from when they change office, it's not really going to be an issue.
Okay, cool. And then one of the pros that I'm thinking about, and I kind of just want to confirm, is let's say there is no Prime Minister and the Monarch needs to start taking care of the cash box. Changing it this way, it kind of feels like it would be more of a fluid transition if another officer was filling in for the position.
I think so. I think the only thing that we'd need to do is, until a prime minister was selected and approved, is we'd have to give whatever officer that handles it access to that ledger so they can maintain that cash box.
Cool. I'd like to make a motion that we vote on this item.
I say.
Alrighty. We've got a motion and a second. Let's do it as a vote. John, you're up first. Yay or nay on consolidating the bank accounts?
Yes.
Ada.
Yes.
Rollo.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
And Victor.
Yes.
I'll say yes. So we have a unanimous yes of 6 votes. Yes, I did pause to verify that I could count to 6. This isn't like set in stone, guys. So if we do this for a little bit and we realize, oh my gosh, this is totally not working for whatever reason. Yeah, it did take 2 hands, Boot. Thank you. Anyways, if we realize this isn't working, can always undo it, make more bank accounts. All right, I have nothing else on the official agenda unless, and I will ask the BoD, unless they want to move that item of discussion up that I had dropped, I plopped into the CoC, the one about Wolf's Cry and stuff like that. Do you guys want that one up in the BoD? Otherwise, we're talking about it in the CoC. All right,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sorry, I'm pausing. Medrin, are you JP? I'm trying to track people.
What? You want to sit?
Okay, actually we're gonna hold off because that stuff we're doing perfect. So this is why I'm trying to speed this part along. We're gonna do that in the closed session. So not in this open recorded broadcasted session. Yeah, thank you. Motion to adjourn was seconded. John, yay, nay?
Yes.
Abby?
Sure.
Jason?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Victor?
Yes.
And I say yes. 8:24. Cool. Thanks, guys. BoD meeting adjourned for July 9th. All right. Welcome to the Council of Crowns meeting. Woo! Magic swish, 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 woo. We're in the Council of Crowns meeting, July 9th. I got everybody listed. In fact, I can unmute. We have somebody filling in for Icefire Bay. If everybody wants to welcome Sage, I may find you in the list here. Arian, got it. You are no longer server muted. And so first item of the agenda, anything to report for the ambassador report? That would be you, Astriana, and you are now not server muted. So you are free to chat if you got something to chat.
Who, me?
No, Astriana. Gwen. She's typing. You have yourself muted right now. I wonder if that's in push to talk mode. Do I have to make you an honorary CoC member again? There, I did that just in case it helps.
Oh, it did. Can you hear me?
Yes, that shouldn't have helped, but cool.
I don't know why. Yeah. You kept telling me I had to do something magical with computers. I didn't understand. So a couple things. Coming up, we normally have Gathering of the Clans. The second to last weekend of July. And since it is not happening in person this year, they are doing the CoC meeting that would normally happen at that time online. And I will post information about that when it is available. People can listen to it. It will start at 6 a.m. our time, I believe, and probably go for most of the day. It's very exciting because we have people on the East Coast as well. So they tried to push it back a little bit, but that ended up being like 10 a.m. their time, and so it was a thing. So I'm waiting to hear back the final information, and I will make sure that gets posted out to everybody. One of the big things that we are deciding at the CoM meeting is some new members of the AIBOD, and so I am consolidating all of their information so that I can send that to everybody, so you guys can look at one link with everybody's information on it instead of trying to sort through the list serve and do that. There are some more things that we are coming through for voting that are going to be solidified, including our code of conduct. which is going through revision. So look for that. And so a lot of things are going to be coming up. That's on the 25th of July, potentially also the 26th. So we are going to get you more information as soon as that comes to a head. Other than that, things are going pretty swimmingly as far as the larger group is concerned. There are going to be some big changes, but most of that will be taken care of at that COM meeting. And so I'll have a lot more information after that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And as always, thank you for keeping track of that group.
No problem.
Alrighty. Any questions for our ambassador? Moving on before those slow typers can actually get any questions out. Alright guys, you've probably heard enough about it, but too bad, there's more. Grand Mammoth, July 11th. It's up in Astral Winds. That is 2 days from now. So that is this Saturday. They're doing the thing with not qualifications, because not a thing. But ANS, show off your fancy stuff. It'll be awesome. Ada, do you have anything to say about that? Anything extra you want to throw in there?
Puppet's hosting it, not me. Woo!
But I don't want to unmute him. It's all you.
Do I have power to unmute him?
I unmuted him.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I didn't want to. It'd say, yeah. Puppet, wake up. I know you're an old man that wants to go sleep, but come on.
Heck yeah, I just give all the duties to everyone else.
Puppet, you're not muted, but I don't hear you talking.
Grand Mammoth, woohoo! I'm gonna kick everyone's butt, and I'm gonna qualify for office because I'm crazy.
Right on, go for it.
Really? You stopped being a monarch and suddenly you forgot how to operate Discord. I don't buy it. The channel changed. Blame the channel. Alright, well, if you want to type it up if there's anything that we missed. Anyways, cool stuff. ANS competition, Grand Mammoth, July 11th, this Saturday. I already flagged him. I already fixed the same thing, so he's being silly. What is the Grand Mammoth? It is an ANS competition that is happening in Fairbanks, Alaska, this Saturday, July 11th. No food items, though. Food items bad. Try to keep your stuff as clean as possible. Judges will be doing the same. And it is the kingdom level competition.
And if possible, please wash your stuff before you bring it.
Not if possible. If you don't wash your stuff, questionable submitting it.
Well, you know, there's some things you just can't wash, like flower crowns.
I suppose.
They don't like water.
So make sure they stay out in the sun for a couple days.
Yeah, a little UV baking. All right, cool. Moving on to the next item. So we discussed in another meeting, which was an unfortunate meeting, but skipping one weekend and the associated week around that. So basically not having meetings from July 20th through July 30th. The idea here was to basically have Amp Guard self-quarantine or isolate themselves for before Wolf's Cry, to kind of give Wolf's Cry the best possible chance of proceeding. And I have some more stuff about Wolf's Cry here in a second, but I'm just kind of explaining because some people had brought a concern about the unfairness to those that were not attending Wolf's Cry. So there's, I mean, I don't really have a great way to to address that. It sucks, but I think that if we're going to hold Wolf's Cry, we need to give it as many favorable circumstances as we can. And I think one of those is the careful appreciation or careful assessment of not holding any Amp Guard event between July 20th and July 30th, because the idea behind that is that it would give roughly 14 days before Wolf's Cry would start. And so if anybody was exposed at an Amp Guard event or had to be tested or any of the things that shut us down, that time would lapse before Wolf's Cry started. So we wouldn't miss out on an entire park like Olaf Loop and Moon or all of Ravenstone or all of anybody being asked to not attend. It was voted on previously and had passed unanimously by all of the attending CoC members. I think the only group that wasn't represented at the time was Icefire Bay.
I'm not sure that anybody is coming from Icefire Bay to Wolf's Cry, but they've been very careful COVID things and doing only 6 foot, great weapons and throwies. And so anybody that comes will be totally up on the COVID regulations.
So effectively this would cancel 1 weekend of Amp Guard for folks and any fighter practice or ANS that would happen for the 2 weeks, basically from July 20th through July 30th. That's kind of a mixture of an announcement and or kind of open discussion. So I'm kind of watching the chat. It looks like there's some general approval. Like I said, there was a member that reached out that had expressed concerns about the unfairness to those that couldn't attend Wolf's Cry, but does anybody on the CoC want to address those concerns beyond what I've stated? I personally have a hard time with the idea of allowing any Amp Guard in that window.
The only thing that I would kind of speak out on is, we're not canceling any days during the weekend of Wolf's Cry. We're canceling the day or the weekend and a fighters practice, etc., before or leading up to. So we're still going to have, at least I imagine, Frozen Coast will still be able to have a game day on the Wolf's Cry weekend.
And I'm sure with the lack of, people coming from Homer all the way up to Anchorage with the COVID and everything, that there will probably be battle games down here as well.
So now we're walking into troubling territory. We have members that would always, they believe they are the exception and want to dance in that gray area.
Are they willing to take the responsibility of running battle games, and do you want to instill them with that responsibility?
No, sorry. I'm responding specifically to Dolt's question about this middle ground of turning people away. Well, and Minnie basically summarized my answer, which he did it in a much more elegant way. And we'll just read it out loud for folks. We understand and agree that it is unfair to those not attending, but we have to put the safety of the organization and its major at a higher priority this time. We're sorry for the inconvenience, but thank you so much for your feedback and understanding. Major event. Yeah. The safety of the organization and its major event at a higher priority at this time, which is where I think most of us are kind of landing.
See, that's understandable, especially in these times. There's extra things that are required for battle games to go forward and extra responsibility that holds therein.
So that said, and the simultaneous issue of what are we still going to have Wolf's Cry? And at what threshold do we decide to not do that? Because, as some folks might point out, it could be considered crazy to be hosting an event like this during a pandemic. So a couple folks might think that this is considered a large event or a major event. We're kind of using that wording for ourselves. While it is large or major for us, it is actually not classified as a large event because we do not tend to have 250 or more people attending such events. For us, as much as we might dream and wish that was a thing, that is not likely to be a thing for this. So, me and another group of people have been working tirelessly throughout the afternoon, along with trying to maintain our employment, and we came up with some numbers. That's right, folks. You all made me do math.
I'm pretty sure I got fired today.
Well, okay, so maybe some of us did not maintain our employment, but we talked about numbers and we did things. Oh, it was beyond two numbers. When I started talking about fourth order derivatives of things, I kind of lost half the group that was that was in the chat. Yeah, fancy math stuff. I am looking for my chart. All right, cool. So I came up with, I came up with some numbers. We as a group, and we'll do a shout out to Deli, who kind of grouped a bunch of things that we were talking about together in a consumable bullet list. Let me get the link here for you guys. This is what we are looking at. So I'll kind of just read it out. The criteria for canceling Wolf's Cry 2020. And again, all these numbers and the elements and caveats are subject to change based on what the CoC wants. So feel free to jump in here if we think numbers are a little off or just scary for you guys and you want to fourth order derivatives. Oh my god. Okay, so anyways, criteria for canceling Wolf's Cry 2020. If the ventilator capacity in the state of Alaska exceeds 50% usage, if hospital bed usage exceeds 80% statewide. And I just want to throw a caveat on there. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, is that there is an uncounted overflow capacity for COVID that is not being calculated in that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so COVID is a special thing, but either way, we wanted to do 80% of standard hospital bed statewide capacity. So if that usage exceeds 80%, and just for, do you want to throw the two numbers out? Because I think that it was about 50% current usage with only 20 something beds actually COVID related right now.
Correct. There's approximately 1,500 available beds. This is statewide. 777 of them are currently occupied. That includes your normal, I'm in the hospital because I had surgery or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And 28 of those beds that are being used are COVID only. So pretty small.
So if we see that rise from its current roughly 50% to be exceeding 80% for any reason, COVID or not COVID related, then we'll automatically be canceling and reassessing. If daily deaths exceed 10 in a single day statewide, we will stop and reassess, because I don't think we've hit anywhere close to that yet. And then there's the whole chart and math thing. I said if we exceed positive COVID-19 test results according to the chart below, and I'll explain a rough version of what that is. Or if any state regulatory restrictions are changed for our activities. Or if there's any other reason that's deemed necessary, then we'll shut down and immediately reassess the situation. Or sorry, we'll shut down immediately and then reassess the situation. The reassessing might not be immediate. So numbers, the monitored regions that we'll be looking at will be the Muni of Anchorage, Matsu Borough, Fairbanks North Shore Borough, Kenai Peninsula Borough, which includes Homer, and the city and borough of Juneau. These numbers that we based it off of were in Anchorage, and so that's, you know, kind of the population center for this. So if anybody catches up to these Anchorage theoretical numbers, then we'll definitely be in trouble territory. And again, we've been watching it non-stop. Sorry, go ahead, Stephanie. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, Anchorage is the leading number of total active cases right now. So that's one of the reasons why we based it off Anchorage.
So what did I do to come up with these random numbers? And I didn't want it to be just a linear thing or just a flat number thing for reasons. So what I did is I took what I have. Let me find my Excel file. Here we go. So I took all the case numbers that I had that included from the 14th of June through the 8th of July. Then I looked at the 7-day rolling average of what each of those was. So starting from the 20th of June, that would be 38. And then looked at each number. And the idea there for the cumulative 7-day new cases was specifically to rule out spikes, both negative and positive because, as we all know, the virus doesn't take Sundays off, but reporting tends to be a little lower on Sundays. And so to kind of smooth out those kinds of issues. And so rolling 7-day average, I then took those numbers, extrapolated what the trend is basically for that, for what those averages or what those numbers are coming out to be, and then projected it from the 8th of July, which was the last data point that we had because we got yesterday's numbers today, out through, technically I did it through the 5th of August because it's just dragging stuff in Excel. But I'm looking at through the 1st of August. And so then what I did is I added 10% to that kind of growth pattern. And the idea behind that was that I assumed that our current, yep, nice, okay. So, and there's Gwen throwing math numbers flying. So the idea is that our current trajectory is considered relatively safe because kind of the feeling overall for a lot of folks that I was gathering is totally not official, no official, no real voting or anything, but was that our current trajectory seems to be an acceptable risk for still hosting Wolfscry. We are not getting very close. And the idea is that, well, okay, it's not that we're not getting that close. This actually is what we're doing right now. And then what I did is I added roughly a 10% window and maintained that line. And so basically if our rolling 7-day average on the chart on any of these days exceeds that number, then we'll consider that a cancellation because it will be showing that we'll have basically a spike. Basically the idea.
Yeah, so like if we continue.
You kind of cut out there, Stephanie. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. What I was saying is like today, what is it? Did I say 23 in Anchorage today? So this would be equivalent, like if we had 23 today, 25 tomorrow, 25 the next day, 25 the next day, 27 the next day, 30 the next day, 40 the next day, and then we just continuously climb like that, then this would set us on that trajectory and we would cancel. But if we hopefully, cross my fingers because I'm hoping this is what it's going to do, we're going to, if it goes like up to like say 40 tomorrow and Anchorage stays at 40, 40, 35, 30, 26, 15, and it kind of curves back down, then we've beat that trajectory and we're coming back down. Mind you, this is per borough, not like when the state goes tomorrow we have 60, then we have 70, but then we come back down to 50 and then 40 total statewide. We're breaking it down by borough because Matsu is the hot spot, followed by Fairbanks, Kenai close behind. Matsu's fourth after that with total cases. So
to truly answer that question, Boot, we would need to pull on a lawyer. As far as the regulations in the state are concerned, my personal guess is I don't believe so.
I believe you were correct as well because the current issues with the bars, I don't believe the owners are liable because you assumed risk going into there unprotected.
And we're all going to be showing that we're doing our best and we're all going to be behaving, right? Right? Extra verbiage at the gate. I mean, we do. Every time you are going and attending anything, you should be being greeted with a prime minister that's giving you the rundown.
Now, is that one of the questions, though? Have you been to a bar recently?
A bar? No, I don't think so.
It is not. We don't specify have you been to X place, but we do specify have you been exposed. So if you've been notified that you've been exposed, then you need to not come.
I actually really like that question though, because the majority of these things, especially the age group that's catching COVID right now, is from going to bars. So I feel like that's something that could be very useful in preventing numbers spiking in Amsterdam.
To make sure I'm understanding what's being discussed here, you want to regulate and turn people around if they admit to saying they have been to a bar, or if you have some reason to believe that they've been to a bar. Yeah, I think that might be taking it a
Okay,
bit far.
In theory, it sounds crazy. I can understand how it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Hearing it out loud.
I believe we should only limit to have you been exposed or have been around a known positive COVID case, which is what we currently do right now. So I don't think that should change, and we shouldn't police where people have been. Because it not necessarily be a bar. You could go to the grocery store and get it. You can go to your hairdresser and get it. You can go, wherever, go to a restaurant and get it. And so, I mean, everyone assumes risk whenever they go out right now.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be regulating if people have gone to a bar or not. But as much as we can regulate what people have done, that is where we lean into the idea of canceling AmpGuard for the weekend prior to Wolf's Cry and mitigating our self-internal exposure amongst each other leading up to the event.
Yeah, we can't force you to stay home, but we can ask very nicely. Or at least if you're in Anchorage, adhere to the mask mandate. Oh, my house is a bar too. That's true.
Why were you all mocking me about coming to my lawn then? We should go to your lawn, camp out.
I don't care whose lawn we're at, but it's going to be on a lawn. I'm telling you.
Bring you all up to speed. She threatened that we would all be camping out on my lawn if I canceled Wolf's Cry, so... this will be a vote by the CoC to adopt this criteria, so we can discuss changes, and I'd like to kind of move it along. So if anybody has suggestions, any CoC members want to tweak any of the numbers, do we want to drop those by a small bit? Are you good with the numbers? Like I said, I added a 10% padding on our current trajectory just to give it a little bit of wiggle room, because statistics can be funny things.
Well, it seems like, when you talk about people being safe and watching their exposure or whatnot, it maybe be good to do a detailed post on what that means and what that entitles and how you can be exposed by these different elements in these different places. Because people that went out to these bars may not even know that these bars were exposed to COVID or whatnot, depending on how busy people are and what kind of research time that they have available to them. So when you say that, about people being safe, it makes me wonder, what does that mean about people watching what they're doing?
Well, I do know the state of Alaska just also has a website available due to the fact that at least in Anchorage and Seward, they had to publicly announce, if you've been to any of these bars on these specific dates, congratulations, you've been exposed and you should probably go get a test. So I think, and at least the news up here are being very vocal about it. I would be very surprised if someone missed that, but I mean, it's possible they could.
And so perhaps would it be good to post those links on the Kingdom page just so that people can double check and make sure that they are not have been in those places and been exposed?
I don't see why not.
So I'm personally tapped out. Would you be volunteering to make such a post?
Or are you
I would be happy to make that post. I don't actually have those links available to me at the moment, but if somebody wanted to send me those, or I could try and look them up. But yeah, sure.
That would be awesome if you don't mind. Throw it together in a document. Stephanie or I will try to send you in the direction to find some stuff, and then if you want to write up a thing, send it to us, and we can get that posted.
And if you go to KTUU's Facebook page, one of the recent articles within the past 4 or 5 hours, I think it's more recently than that, has the link to that website.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'll get that drafted up.
Awesome. Thank you. So I guess back to the CoC. Are you guys okay with adopting this as our criteria? Do you want to make edits to the file, to the numbers, to the percentages before we move forward? And I mean, of course, noteworthy in there is that we have the extra "or else it is otherwise deemed necessary." So this is not an exclusive list of items that are the only reasons we might cancel. This is just some semi-concrete numbers for folks to be looking at. This is kind of this is the numbers and the data that basically we've been assessing each day, each week, as we see the spikes. Honestly, this was written up specifically for Wolf's Cry, but if we reached any of these thresholds, I would be shutting down AmpGuard, or I would be voting to shut down AmpGuard. I mean, it's not simply solely my power, but I would be voting to shut down AmpGuard if we exceeded any of these. But it is only, we only have Grand Mammoth, or the ANS competition this weekend, and then we have voting the next weekend, and then we're off for a weekend, and then it's Wolf's Cry. So there's only 2 normal play weekends left that we wouldn't be assessing this for anyways. But yeah.
And then we can readdress it at rating change.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm gonna hide this document. I take it with me so nobody gets to, nobody gets to see it. But yeah, I would hand this off. Obviously, the next CoC, next BoD should be looking at that. And this is, all this stuff will be open to them. And I would kind of recommend this at least for the next month or so until things change again. I think it's just going to get worse as we kind of close up, as we head inside for the winter. It's going to be a rough time. It's going to be a rough rain for folks. Hopefully you all see that coming. All right, so I hear nothing from any CoC members. I see a little bit of chatting, but it's all about treats and it's just making me salivate more. So let's just vote it in as if you have all at least seen it, signed off on it, think that it's a good enough thing to go off of. Go back to my CoC file. All right, Abby, you want to go first?
I'll vote yes.
Cool. Stephanie.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Victor.
Yes.
Adge.
Real quick, can you guys recap that? My thing just cut out. I hate. I'm listening, but it cut out pretty hard.
Okay, we are voting / acknowledging that we have a set of criteria that will trigger an instant cancellation. Yes. Okay, cool. Got a yes. All right, Sage.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I'll say yes. So we have a unanimous, we have a guideline that we're kind of watching for, but it also has a nice big open caveat that we can still cancel it because, Zygen shoves me into a hole. Can I fully break my leg? My wife warns me every time I go out to Ravenstone. She's like, watch your back.
I am an innocent bystander.
I have a shovel.
Jeez. Better watch myself. All right. Next item on the agenda. Cool. The Northreach auction. Congratulations to you guys. That thing was awesome. We got, assuming everything settles, everybody pays up there's a couple outstanding invoices. So those listening, hey folks, remember about your invoices that I probably sent you messages about. Anyways, if everybody settles those invoices and pays up, we've generated about $1,900 from that. So congratulations everybody. That was really awesome. We've come together and we've gotten about $1,900 from that. That does not make up for the lack of Three Barons Fair or the Alaska State Fair, but it's a nice little something to soften the blow of our lack of fundraising for this summer. So yay. Next item. This is going to be mostly you, Abby. We've got a minor that is seeking approval to play. So do you want to take it away and kind of give us the deets based off those questions I sent you?
Yes. The question is, what details am I supposed to give?
Okay.
Because I've never done this before.
Mostly first name, don't do last name, just first name and their persona name. Like how old are they? So like what are we looking at? We don't want to approve a 6-year-old. What the relation for their parents is to AmpGuard, if anything, and sell it to us in terms of their safety and their involvement and all that. while I scroll around and look for the actual list I gave you because I just winged it off memory.
All right. Well, the kid's name is, I believe, Thomas. I know his last name better than I do his first name. But his persona name is Monk Gyatso. I'm assuming he's an Avatar fan. He is 11 years old, and his birthday is September 19th. So he should be 12 soon. He is really not. Oh, Timothy. His name is Timothy.
Timothy Zane Wilson.
I'm not sure if I was supposed to say the full name.
Thanks, Dalt.
Too late now. But yeah, the kid's pretty cool. He's very involved with AmpGuard. His brother brings him along, and his brother is already a very excited person about AmpGuard, so he has a nice person to look up to as he sticks around. Yeah.
Was this the kid? When was it there? Not last week, but the weekend before that they were talking about.
I would not know.
Okay.
I was not paying attention that weekend.
That sounds fine.
How long has he or his family been involved, and how old is his brother?
Since before Corona.
But not much more before, because that's just February.
Yeah, like February. He's been around since February.
And the parents understand that they would have to attend and be there for any time that he's participating. And how
yes,
involved
I made that very clear to his brother.
How involved are the parents currently?
Not very involved.
CoC members. Oh, go ahead, John. Yeah.
Has anybody sparred with him on the field, or more than just his brother?
I have not. However, if any Astrowinders in the chat are looking and know. Oh, Puppet has!
Oh, wonderful. What are your thoughts about his field behavior? Is he honorable? Has there ever been a time where, you've spent some time, he'd be a great addition to a park? That's great. And you watching kids grow up in AmpGuard, I mean, he's 11 years old, so, kid. But watching kids grow up in AmpGuard, they can still be a wonderful addition to your park and still not be old enough to play. I mean, I think it takes his shots and doesn't have any anger. That's awesome. I don't think it has to be mutually exclusive. Like, even if the vote doesn't pass or something like that, I don't think he'll stop being an awesome AmpGuarder for you guys in the meantime.
I find a couple of flags that come up is not knowing about his sparring capabilities with other individuals, and also his parents not being around. So, it would be good to know about his fighting, if he can handle himself, if it's gonna hurt his feelings too much, or can he buck up? Can he take his shots? Can he, dish it out? Where are those capabilities at?
I have not sparred with him personally. I'm not really much of a fighter. However, I do know that the rest of my top 5 are very, very supportive of him joining, and I have quite a few members in the park who are like, we need to let him join the battlefields. So I do know that he's very popular. As for his parents, he will not be showing up unless they are there too. And it sounds like the parents will try to make an effort to come to the park.
Has he done any reaving, shadow reaving, any paging? Has he been on the field?
Puppet! Doltle, do you know that? Has he done any shadow reaving, Doltle?
Done any what?
Shadow reaving or reaving?
No.
Just some offside sparring.
Well, it sounds like Puppet said he sparred with him a little bit. Which is, I mean, it's good. I wouldn't want to just straight out say no. I would think that maybe we could instead find maybe table it and have some folks do a little bit of testing. Bring him out, let him do some shadow reaving. Have more people fight him, see how it goes. Does he take his losses well and stuff like that, which is something that's kind of hard to for younger players as they're starting Amcard to kind of deal with, is that they're not the best, and even some older players as well, but
Yeah, actually a lot of people have sparred him. I just have not.
Okay, perfect. Any of them here notably? Doesn't mean it can't be. Yes, no. Yeah, that's exactly true. Daly says, "Don't worry. If they give out a no today, they could always be voted later on." Minnie says he'll scrap them this weekend.
I'd be down for like a phased approach personally, like a tentative or probationary yes, or.
Well, and the positive about having him do some shadow reading shows a understanding of the basic rule base, and so that he won't be caught unaware out there, which is important.
So, also, I have Doltal, the GMR, just like right across the room from me. He said that he is very willing to let Monk Gyatso do some shadow reaving. However, he has already observed a few battle games. He just hasn't necessarily played in them.
Gotcha.
Well,
Yeah. Personally, I like Nalarian's solution.
Okay.
Of phasing in. What would that look like? I mean, in my opinion, that looks like him spending some time on the field and learning how to, doing a little bit of reaving, doing some shadow reaving as he kind of starts up the game. And maybe some paging for somebody, picking up arrows or going out and grabbing their equipment while it's out there. Maybe like a spellball wizard. I know there's a spellball wizard out there. I met him at DC.
That's Thor.
Yep. But yeah, maybe phase 1 could be something like that.
Okay.
I think he might be.
Encourage that.
I think we might be jumping past that kind of low-level phase 1 approach, but maybe introduce him to something like, hey, do this ditch battle, but skip the full-on battle games.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fine to me as well.
Burn the word precedent.
Well, and if you could have a Reeve watching him in particular, just to see how he handles everything and can run that thing.
I'm cool with doing a vote right now, personally, of letting him do ditches, at least for a couple weeks. Again, it's not going to be a whole lot of weeks. Yeah, tournament participation could be fine if he's interested in that, to me, personally.
And yeah, and I'll be there this weekend that I can look at him too, so.
And then let that happen for a couple weeks, and then, well, go up there, go from there.
Cool. I'm down to vote on that.
Sounds great.
So, I mean, somebody's suggesting putting a full process together. That's not happening right now. So do we want to tell him no, or do we want to give him something and that can be done later? Okay.
Hey, Nalaran, I have a question.
What's up?
So I know in Arcapora it says that we have to verify people through the CoC, but in the rules of play it also says it's at Monarch's discretion. So how would you address that? Or how are we going to address that, in my opinion? Because I've talked to some people about it and they're very hurt that their kids, for example, aren't allowed to participate until further conversation, which I understand in the report says so, but they also will pull up the rules of play, and I didn't really have an answer.
Kingdom Monarch.
Rules of play are like federal law. Kaporas are like state law.
And that would be referencing the Kingdom Monarch, and I haven't had anybody from your park come up to me asking for approval, so that could be one way to discuss it.
Cool, yeah. All right, yeah, no, well, I mean, they came up to me because they know who I am. But
No,
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 they don't know you guys. They're just not very into the whole kingdom part yet. Like, parents aren't. They're getting there, so.
Yeah,
Cool.
we can dig into the nuance of that, but we're going to follow the procedure that we have in our admin manual right now, which also allegedly mirrors the rules of play. So,
Cool, thank you.
so let's do that as a vote because I want to move on. Letting Monk Yatsu do ditches and tournaments for the time being. Abby, yay or nay?
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Victor,
Yes.
Adj,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
and I'll say yes. So we got a unanimous yes on letting him do things and rough you all up in ditches and tournaments. He's gonna sweep the tournament now. It's all your guys' fault. Cool. That's all the items that I have on the CoC list. It's open for general populist questions and concerns, but we are kind of on a time limit. I want to get somebody who's not in our time zone into another meeting, so not addressing that one. Don't see other questions. Why is she scary? Not addressing that one. Do we need another Facebook group? No. No. There are no credits for these meetings, guys. Who freaking... I'm shooting Mara next time I see her with my bow and arrow that's legal. There is a
No,
plan.
don't feel flat about this all on his own.
Yeah,
You guys
he's-
just have the benefit of hearing it for yourself. Unabridged. It's right here.
All right, you see that, Rollo? Take away all of Rosadith's druid points. All of his credits. Why, though? Nope, not addressing that. Ty, I had a question about a plan for Feast, Beer Area, Wolf's Cry. Yes, it is basically spreading out a lot more than we traditionally do. And begging people to behave. And if there is not proper behavior, being booted and being a lot more strict. And Puppet's gonna hate me. But it's a price I'm gonna pay. Rain loses all scout credits. Boot loses all druid credits. We got people ask, okay, we don't know what's going on. All right, let's call it a night. CoC members, any last second things you want to address in the public recorded?
You are all lovely people, and I love you.
Thank you all for putting up with this whole pandemic and still sticking strong with Northreach.